The year 2002. 10 years after the opening and initial failure of Disneyland Paris, the proposed second gate, known as Walt Disney Studios, was opened to the public on the 16th of March 2002. But much like its companion and predecessor next door, this park was about to have a rough few years, to say the least. Hey everyone, I'm Jake, and welcome to a new style of video for me where I'm going to be looking at the history of Walt Disney Studios. With the upcoming opening of Disney Adventure World, which hopefully if I get this video done at the right time will be today, March 29th, and I thought it would be cool to take a deep dive and look back into what this park originally was, the plan for it, and how it had to change over the years in order to survive the brutal backlash from fans. Guys, before we start, I'm just gonna, ask if you want to subscribe because it's free, you can always change your mind, you know how it is. And now, without further ado, please remain seated and keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle, because here we go. Back in the early 90s, the Disney Company, led by Michael Eisner and his big expansion initiative, sought out to make a Disney park, but in Europe. Yeah, the old CEO really pushed for expansion when he was CEO and a lot of modernisation of Disney. Some people liked that, some people did not. For this proposed Europe park, they went back and forth on the location between France and Spain, and in the end they were won over by the French culture and the central, easily accessible location of Chessy, France, right on the east and less than an hour's drive or train from central Paris. And after a few years of construction, Euro Disney was complete. Wait, Euro Disney? Yeah, so you're probably confused because today it's known as Disneyland Paris, a really nice and elegant name for a really nice and elegant park, but back in the 90s, the Americans and the Disney executive thought that putting the name Euro in something would be a really cool thing that you do in Europe. In Europe, that's more of a thing to do with marketing and finance and not really anything that has the charm that Disney's supposed to have. And yeah, this initial name kind of gives you a bit of foreshadowing on why the park didn't do too well with the French public initially, or in general. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but various factors such as mandatory English spoken in meetings in France, strict codes and rules the French didn't love, and other factors led to an initial financial bomb. Meaning basically they didn't make any money. This led to a massive financial loss for the Walt Disney Company and almost led to the shutdown of the park after only a few years of operation. Now luckily, due to the actions and work of some really talented Disney Imagineers such as Tony Baxter and his imagination which he used on the brand new Discoveryland and more importantly, the new version of Space Mountain, and also due to the addition of changing the name from Euro Disney to Disneyland Paris, led to finally the company getting profit in the late 90s to early 2000s. That in itself is a really interesting story, at least for me. So if you're really interested in that, Defunct Land, they're a cool channel, they have a great video on that. Now this success meant that finally the original plans for a second gate, like in Anaheim or the many in Walt Disney World, Florida, could once again go ahead. And boy did it! Just not in the way anyone really expected. So the original idea for the Walt Disney Studios Park was to make it more or less a clone of the then MGM Studios Park, which is now Hollywood Studios, over in Walt Disney World Resort, Florida. Like in Florida, the name would have been something like MGM Paris or Disney MGM Europe, and this park would take guests behind the scenes of their favourite movies and show them how they were made. Now, whether or not they originally intended to actually create films there, like they did in the MGM studios in Hollywood, I'm not actually sure. What I do know, though, is that the plans for this second gate were quite large. With the original Disneyland opening in 1992, the plan was to open this park in 1995 and to feature recreations of MGM rides such as the Great Movie Ride and an all-new thriller gangster shootout ride, which originally was a scrapped idea from the American parks. Unfortunately, due to the initial financial loss from Disneyland Paris, the budget for the second part was far smaller than hoped for and planned, which led to unfortunately a bit of a lackluster park that for the fans had always felt like it was missing something. When Disneyland finally made profit, this official second gate was announced on 29th of September 1999. Construction officially began a year later in 2000, and Walt Disney Studios Park officially opened to the public on the 16th of March 2002, which coincided with the resort's 10th year anniversary. Out of the park's 9 original attractions, only 3 of these were actually able to open on time. which were Rock and Roller Coaster avec Aerosmith, which is the same as Rock and Roller Coaster with Aerosmith from America. The Flying Carpets over Agrabah, which is literally just another Dumbo spinning ride, but this time themed to Aladdin. And the Studio Tram Tour Behind the Magic, which was a tram tour behind the magic of filmmaking, except honestly, fans did not like this one. If you want to kind of sum up the tram tour in a couple words, it's basically imagine a tram tour behind the scenes of films no one saw, with props from shows no one saw, with attractions and old set memorabilia from shows and films no one saw. Yeah, you can see why this kind of failed. And in the 2019 documentary series, The Imagineering Story on Disney+, Bruce Vaughn, the chief creative executive of Walt Disney Imagineering, described his reaction when he visited the park for the first time. And he basically said that for the first 10 minutes he was walking through and he was like, when are we going to get to the theme park? To be told that you're in the theme park. And he was kind of like, oh. When he said, well, it kind of looks like, backstage, it kind of looks a bit cheap. The guys there were like, well, yeah, it's supposed to. The guests will love it. Let's be real, the guests didn't love it. And Vaughn was probably the first person to realise that. It became pretty clear pretty fast that this park would not be done as it is, and it needed a little bit of expansion and upgrading over time. This started with small additions, like some new theming, some new areas, and then some bigger additions, like in 2007, adding Crush's Coaster, an indoor spinning roller coaster. Can attest, it's pretty great. And adding a mini Cars ride, themed after Pixar's 2006 Cars. Also in 2007, it grew in size to add the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, which was very similar to the American one, but it had a few of its own flares, And in August of 2010, the expansion continued by adding Toy Story Playland with a few new Toy Story themed rides. And then the last of this initial construction ended in 2014 when they made the Ratatouille Land with a brand new Ratatouille Adventure ride, which actually was really good and was then taken over to Epcot as like a new version over there. Now, it is important to add that there were lots of different shows and experiences going on in the park, like the amazing motor stunt show and all the different... I can't say that properly. Basically, I'm not trying to get at there was nothing going on in the parks, but in terms of major rides, that was kind of it, and it still did not feel like a full theme park. But after that, the initial development plans did come to an end, but it was still clear that the park still felt incomplete. I think the main reason for this was the layout and theming. The backlot theming had never really worked as intended, with the main problem being when you theme your theme park around a backlot with intentionally lower quality sets and ride appearances as a part of that, funnily enough, guests agree that they look lower quality, but instead of seeing the potential novelty, instead see it for what it really is, and was badly disguised as a cheap, half-day theme park not able to live up to its next-door neighbour or anywhere near its American or Asian counterparts. I do really feel for this park though. It's not a bad park, it's got so much to live up to being a Disney park that it just never quite hit the mark, unfortunately. The reason for that is it's definitely money. But finally, in 2018, then Disney CEO Bob Iger announced plans for a $2 billion investment into the studios to finally turn it from that half-day experience, with a couple, but mostly lackluster rides, into its own full theme park with its own unique identity and draw for the public. The plan for this expansion took the shape of a general retheme, as with the American Hollywood studios, with a shift from behind-the-scenes movie making to stepping into the worlds of your favourite films, as they had already started to focus on with the Ratatouille and Toy Story worlds. This retheme would reimagine the entire entranceway to the park, going from a studio set of Hollywood to what looked more like the real thing, and including whole new areas of the park, such as Avengers Campus, the world of Frozen, and originally they planned a smaller version of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which was later changed to a Lion King land, which, I mean, I'm a little bit sad about that. I would have loved to have seen a Star Wars land closer than America, but I do actually understand it, because, this gives more of a unique draw to the park that, nowhere else has. There is no Lion King land anywhere else, and this is really cool. Construction for this new stuff started in 2019 as the old tram tour was closed and rethemed into Cars Road Trip, which is something, I guess? I don't know, they did get rid of most of the old tram tour, just keeping the main truck scene where the water crashes down, it sets fire. It's great, to be fair, but the Cars, it's not a Cars land, unfortunately. And around this time the construction for Avengers Campus started, but unfortunately, due to the global pandemic, as with a lot of things at the time, this construction took a lot longer than planned, and also this kind of delayed the whole expansion project as a whole. Avengers Campus finally debuted on the 9th of July 2022, and it was a great retheme, although I reckon personally it needs another couple rides, and hopefully we'll get an expansion in the future, like the American one is. The only 2 rides being Spider-Man Web Adventure, which is actually quite a cool shooter ride, and then a retheme of the Rock and Roller Coaster, but now as an Avengers-themed Iron Man and Captain Marvel coaster, which I do actually quite like, I'll be real. I actually visited the park for the first time in 2023, and while I love next door's Disneyland, and actually did quite enjoy what the studios had to offer, I really do agree that the park needed these upgrades, since the parts I enjoyed most were the most recent additions for sure. And while the construction that year didn't really affect the general park experience, when I went back in 2024 and 2025, the majority of the studios were taken up by construction walls, which is fair enough honestly, they were getting work done, but it did mean for a small amount of time the park felt even smaller than before, and the main Studio One building had been closed in my 2024 visit to be reopened as World Premiere Plaza, which I saw in 2025, and it's actually, I love the theming. There's a lot of subtle theming going on in the background, and I do really appreciate it as a new entranceway into this new imagined park. But of course, before World Premiere opened, back in April of 2024, Disney announced that with the opening of the new world of Frozen, which was still being built at the time, Walt Disney Studios would be coming to an end, because it was about to be rebranded into Disney Adventure World, a name which fans were a little bit confused and not exactly overjoyed by, but I'll be real, I like this name. I like the word adventure, I like the idea of it, and I like what's going to come with it, so I'm not really too bothered by the name. The new Disney Adventure World will consist of the area's World Premiere, like said, World Premiere Plaza, which incorporates the Toon Studios and production courtyard, World of Frozen, Avengers Campus, the Toy Story Land, all these different things, Worlds of Pixar I suppose that's called, and the new and my favourite part, Adventure Bay and Adventure Way. So let's talk about that for a few minutes, because you know, that's opening today. I really hope I got this video out on time. Hopefully it's opening today, 29th of March, and I really want to look at what this new world's going to be and how it's actually going to be better than the old one, hopefully. I think, although not every fan is absolutely excited about this new change and the retheme and the new name, it's safe to say that this is definitely going to be an upgrade of some form. Now we're just going to see how much of an upgrade it'll be, I suppose. So I guess after about 24 years, it's time to say goodbye to Walt Disney Studios. Rest in peace. And it's time to ask the question, what makes Adventure World different to Walt Disney Studios? Now, I'm hoping to go there in the summer, so until I do, I won't have an official opinion, and I'm kind of just going off what I've seen from other people so far. But like I said before, the new lands should provide new experiences for Disneyland Paris, such as the World of Frozen giving a life-size recreation of the village of Arendelle, with the large mountain backdrop with Elsa's castle on top, as well as being incredibly well themed, making great use of old Disney classics like Forced Perspective. The land also has a new rendition of Frozen Ever After, like the one in Epcot, but imagine Frozen Ever After from Epcot, but with the technology and advancements of Tokyo Disney's Frozen ride. Yeah, it's kind of like the best of both worlds, and it looks amazing. And bro, I don't even like Frozen, and I'm saying that, because like the technology is genuinely that cool. I love theming in these areas, and it just looks like real. I don't know how to describe it. And of course, alongside the ride, there's a lot of like smaller things like shows and restaurants and everything going on in the background. You might have seen the really cool Olaf animatronic Imagineering Maid. Looks amazing. And this is just in the World of Frozen area. I mentioned before that my favourite parts were Adventure Bay and Adventure Way. Adventure Way is basically a new walkway going down the centre of the park, and I love how it's going to tie literally everything together. And it has some great new attractions along it, like a new Tangled ride, a future Up ride which is being built at the moment, the very first ride to be built around that film franchise, well, that one film. And there also seem to be some cool new things, like a new restaurant called Regal View with some amazing views, and the lake itself, which will be home to some new nighttime spectaculars. I think it's a great centerpiece for the park. It creates like a central hub that everything will be connected to, and it connects all the different parts of the park that previously weren't really connected to each other. I honestly think that these are what are going to turn the once confused half-day park into a full theme park, because like I said, it creates that central hub which the park really needs, alongside providing these amazing views. And as well as connecting all the new stuff, it also connects all the old stuff back together. My favourite of these being the pathway connecting the Cars road trip, which used to be right at the end of the path, which you kind of just had to go down and then come back down, and it was like kind of a weird, like, you just had had to go that way, and then once you were done, walk all the way back down the path. Now that's actually part of the circular route, and it's right by World of Frozen, which is so great. And also the new path into Toy Story Land with the brand new massive statues of Woody and Jessie, which go with the original Buzz statue from the entrance. I just love it. It makes it all so much more fluid and so much more moving and so much more like alive, like the Disneyland Park next door. And don't forget, this isn't going to be the end of the expansion. The Lion King Land is literally being built at the moment, and that's going to feature its whole own massive mountain, meaning the lake will have 2 mountains surrounding it, one from like a desert and one obviously from ice. And that's just kind of crazy in itself. Like, the park's gone from not having really any backdrop to having 2 massive mountains. Actually mental. But yeah, all these new additions, I think, are exactly what the old studios needed to have a rebirth into something truly worthy of the Disney name. And while I don't think this would or should be the end of the updates, let's be real, it's a huge upgrade to the original, but it's not there yet, I wouldn't say. It's still not quite a full Disney park, especially compared to next door and like the American ones. But I do think that finally, after 20 years, this is a park worth going to. And I would absolutely love to know about your experiences and your thoughts down in the comments below. Come say hi. Whew, I made it. Honestly, I really hope I've made this in time. If this is the 29th of March right now, amazing, I made the video on time. If not, this might not make as much sense as I planned. But you've made it to the end of the video, and if you enjoyed, subscribing really helps out the channel, and it's free, and like I said at the beginning, you can always change your mind, so I mean, what's the point in not doing it, really? But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I can't wait to get to the summer so I can go see this all for myself. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!